Wonderful. So I do see that we have 16 people here, including
This
some
call
staff
will be
from the
recorded.
agency,
This call
which
is no longer being recorded.
so could someone who objects to this call being recorded let us know what their concern is?
This call will be recorded. This call is no longer being recorded.
Wow. We don't have a lot of time.
This call will be recorded. This call is no longer being recorded.
Mm.
Just so people know, the call is being recorded. I think that some people may be hitting record and then terminating that recording, but the call is being recorded on our end so that it can be shared with all the vendors at large. As I was saying, we do have Charlisa, who's my executive assistant, Nicole Green, who's responsible for our fiscal issues, Jelani, who is our lead monitor, and Sharon Von Roach, who, as you know, is the program manager. And then I think I just named one. So that is 5 people, and there are 16 in the room. So there are 11 vendors here, 12 vendors, 13 vendors, because 2 of the calls are 2 vendors. So thanks to the 13 of you who could join us today. With some of the back and forth that I think people had received, I just wanted to be very clear about where we stand with the call down, what my understanding is of sort of what the issues are right now, and what our proposal is and what our expectation is as we move forward. So I had sent out an email when this confusion arose after Jelani sent out the information to everyone about the upcoming call down. Just clarifying that the call down is going forward, and it has to go forward for a couple of reasons. One, we have a brand new vendor in the program, and he has to have the opportunity to bid on a facility to begin working. We also have a displaced vendor who needs to obtain a facility. I think those are relatively easy issues. I hope that people agree on that. The other issue we have that I think is probably one of the more, well, the other issue we have that has to be resolved is that currently we do not have a vendor permanently assigned to the cafe at the Department of Labor. Mr. Stevenson stepped up. I want to thank him for doing that. He has stepped up for longer than one would normally expect as a temporary vendor. And we need to be able to assign the Department of Labor to a vendor who's able to run that facility. Otherwise, the Department of Labor, quite frankly, is going to ask us to leave because they have had concerns about the operation there. With the staff having all returned, they have a real need. It's a cafe, it's coffee, it's in the lobby when people get there. They want to smell that coffee and have coffee available to drink when they go to work, and all their staff is now there. So it's really important that one of our vendors, my hope is one of our vendors will take on this challenge and operate a successful facility there. I know that one of you, I want to say it's Ms. Evans, is on another floor in this same building. And they're very happy with the service in that facility, but they really want their coffee on in the lower floor. So those 2 things really need to get addressed. On top of this, we have 15 unassigned micro markets. We've gone back and forth in terms of, and I think that the SLA certainly bears some of the responsibility here because our regulations have always been clear when they were passed in 2021, I believe it was, or 2020, it clearly defined micro markets as unstaffed facilities. They are not vending machines. The income from micro markets should not be shared amongst the vendors. And yet I know that we have done that for quite some time. I'm trying for us to move forward in a way that's consistent with our regulations. Therefore, we did place all 15 of the vacant micro markets on the call down. I want to let people know the way that's going to work. They are vacant facilities, so you know how, I think all of you know how the bidding for facilities goes. Like, people can bid on them. The decisions will be made by the Promotion and Transfer Committee, awarding the facilities based on the standards that they established at the beginning of the call down. I understand that people disagree with this decision. I understand that vendors want to continue sharing that income. The SLA disagrees with that. What I plan to do is we will have this call down. If no one bids on these facilities, then I will send a notice to all vendors except the new vendor, but to all vendors, because all of you have been receiving funds from the existing facilities. So you'd all be affected by this decision. I would send you a letter advising you that we will stop after June 30th making payments for treating those micro markets as unassigned vending income, because we do not believe they meet the definition of vending machine income. And therefore, we will make the third quarter payment to all vendors, but we don't plan to make any beyond that. These facilities will be surrendered, given that no one has bid on them. We'll also have an opportunity, if people then decide that they want to try another call down and do bidding, that's fine. But that's the letter I will send at that time. And by saying that the decision would be after the end of June, no one would receive a payment for unassigned vending commissions until the one that comes in October for the fourth quarter. So my hope, although those of you who've dealt with OAH know this may take time, my hope is that if people disagree with this decision, that something could be filed at OAH, and my hope is that we could try and make it move along quickly so that a decision could be reached before the end of September. OAH would either say, well, we disagree and it should be considered that, or they would say that they agree with us and that they are not vending machines and therefore should not be shared income amongst the vendors. If that were the case, we would then revisit the issue of, do we have a call down? That's where things stand right now from my perspective. So from here, if people have questions or comments, it might be easy, although I've not done, I will admit, I haven't used Zoom on a phone much, so I don't know how hard it is for you to raise your hand. I do want to have people have the opportunity to ask questions and not be talking over each other.
Hi, this is Marie Bolden. I have a question. In fact, I have two. Mr. Reese, why wasn't all the unassigned micro-marts put up for the new vendor? All unassigned all unassigned satellites. Why weren't they put up for the new vendor to choose from?
They were. So we've put on the call down all satellites that vendors have held for more than 2 years are on the call down, as well as facilities that are unassigned. So we have 16 unassigned facilities, and I'd have to go check Jelani's list, and a number of satellite facilities that were included in the call down.
So all the satellites, it seems to me like always the new vendor gets an exclusive bid.
That's
and
correct.
That is every satellite, he alone should have been put up for him alone. And he should be able to pick from either one of those satellites that
the one
wanted.
Yes, I agree. And that is what the instruction said at the beginning, with one caveat to that, which is that we are treating the displaced vendor as a new vendor to provide the opportunity for that person to get a facility because they were displaced from their facility. Um, but other than that, you are correct. And beyond that, there isn't the free for all with the satellites. The satellites are available for those two vendors to bid on, period. And the all of the unassigned facilities, which are the 15 micro markets and the Department of Labor facility, are available for other vendors to bid on.
And I have another question I would like to ask. Did the promotion and transfer have anything to do with this call down? Why is Mr. Smith more or less dealing with this call down? The promotion and transfer, they are being disregarded for some reason?
Not at all. Mr. Smith met with the Promotion and Transfer Committee. He went through all the materials that were being sent out with the Promotion and Transfer Committee to get their feedback before they were sent out, and then they were sent out. So no, it wasn't, I don't think the Promotion and Transfer Committee's been disregarded in any way.
Correction. This is LaShawn. I was out of the country and I sent a message to y'all saying that I think it should be postponed. So when Mr. Smith sent me a message asking would it be okay for Mr. Stevenson to look it over, Mr. Stevenson said that
We can't hear you.
We lost you.
He's probably in the waiting room.
No.
Well, if I can just add something as well. So we did meet with the Promotion and Transfer Committee, but at no point was a request to postpone the call down until later on. It was already understood that Ms. Addison was going to be out of the country. She let it be known that she wasn't necessarily concerned about placing a bid, but that she'll also be returning in time to place a bid. So there was never really any discussion about postponing the call down at that meeting that we had. Now, while she was out of town sending the information to her, she wanted me to send it to members that were outside of the committee, which I disagreed with. And I then asked, is that something where, you know, another committee member could step up as Mr. Stevenson to review the documents, which, you know, that never materialized.
Well, it seems to me, I thought that we supposed to have on that committee one person from the agency, and one person. That person is only a guest on that committee. They do not have any authority to do anything other than the chairperson is the one has the authority, along with all of the rest of the committee. This is new to me, so I'm just only asking: is this a change now that the agency person that's on that committee, P&T, is able to more or less take over and run it?
I think pretty clearly, first of all, he's not running the committee. There was a meeting of the committee that identified what the standards would be for the, they established the rules of priority of the call down. There was a meeting prior to Ms. Addison leaving the country where all of the documents were presented. They walked through them. There was no concern expressed at that time, and then everything was sent out. At the conclusion of the call down, the committee will then apply those standards and will make the decisions about the awards of the facilities. The need to have a call down when we have a new vendor isn't at the discretion of the Promotion and Transfer Committee. We have to do that. The need to have a call down to assign the DOL facility is not really discretionary at this point, because if we don't have that facility, if we don't identify a vendor who's willing to step up and manage that facility, we're going to lose it.
This is LaShawn. I got disconnected somehow somewhere. But
Welcome back.
again, thank you. But again, when we discussed that with Ms. Shine and Mr. Smith on our call, we all said that, we don't think this call down should go on. But like them telling us, okay, well, Mr. Reese said it's going on no matter what. So that's why we're here.
Okay.
But
And that
the
is why we're
problem
here. And I will
wasn't- the
say
problem,
that
the
it is
problem
going on
wasn't-
no matter what.
The problem wasn't that the new vendor or the displaced vendor didn't have a card, and we wanted that, but all of the other locations that wasn't put on the call down was the issue.
Wait a minute. Which locations that are not on the call down are an issue?
But you just told us that we couldn't bid on the satellites. They only could, the new vendor,
Oh.
displaced vendor can bid on satellites. So
That's true, because the satellites are on the call down only for a new vendor in the program. And I appreciate that this has been done differently at times. However, when you read what the rules say, it does say that it addresses this issue of satellite facilities. This is also in the policy where satellite facilities are assigned to a vendor and the vendor has them for 2 years. And after that point, they can be put on a call down for a new vendor to bid on. Not for
Andy, I'd
to
like
have the sort of free for all. And I'm not saying that the free for all hasn't happened in the past. I'm just saying that's what the rule says. Now, the other option is, I will say, people can bid on the satellites and we'll notify you that you weren't awarded the satellite, and we can take that issue as well. But I want to back up and just clarify Ms. Bolden's position. The Promotion and Transfer Committee shall be composed of 5 representatives. The Blind Vendors Committee shall select 3. The Blind Vendor Committee and the licensing agency shall jointly select 1 individual from the community, and the licensing agencies shall select 1 individual. There's nothing in here that suggests that the SLA representative is a guest in the room. They are a member of the committee.
Well, it has always been where they done the finance position. The agency person always brought in the finance issues. Rather, when a vendor bid on something, you go back. We ask the finance person from the agency, does this person owe money? Have they paid their sales taxes? Have they did what they supposed to do? That's where the person from the agency has always done on that committee, on a P&T committee. They bring the issue of the finance part to the P&T committee.
There is no, I'm just saying, there is no such limitation on their role in the committee in the regulations that were in fact passed 11 years ago.
Andy, and this is Master Hamid. I'd like a question when you have when it's my turn. Please let me know.
People don't seem to be, at least I haven't seen, raised hands. So please just jump right in.
I think somebody was trying to speak ahead of me, so yeah, please go ahead.
That was me, Marquette. I don't know how to raise my hand, so excuse me if I've been rude in some way. Those things should be explained to us how to achieve that. But I would like to ask a question about our unassigned, the micro markets. Since I am the chair of the Policy and Procedure Committee, it's my understanding that before money can be taken out of the unassigned, and if you look at the facilities that are a part of unassigned, that's money. So if you take a facility out of the unassigned, you're taking money out of the unassigned. And to my understanding, and I could be wrong, correct me if I am, that if those facilities or money are taken out of unassigned, then that should be a decision that is voted on by the vendors at large, and a majority vote basically decides what is done with our unassigned. And I haven't gotten any kind of notice, any kind of communication from anyone saying that the policies or procedures are being changed, why they're being changed, or how they're being changed without the BVC or the vendors at large to vote on what happens to that unassigned money.
Okay, Mr.
Could you
Henderson, I
explain
think
that?
you came in late to the meeting because I did walk through all
Yeah,
of this, but I'm going to
I
walk
did
through
come
it
in late.
one more time just to explain.
Okay.
This is, and I said when I said it, I think that there's a disagreement between the vendors and the SLA. The SLA's position is that unassigned refers to unassigned vending machine income. Micro markets are not vending machines. Now, what I do acknowledge is that the vendors have been being paid unassigned funds from these locations for some time. And if we are going to remove that from people, that would be the decision. So we have them on the call down. If people, if people bid on them, people will get a notice that they're now there. They now belong to someone, and therefore you're no longer getting this, and you have a right to appeal that. Or if no one bids on the unassigned micro markets, I will send people a notice advising you that the last payment you will receive for these micro markets will be the one through June 30, 2025, because they are not vending machines, they are vending facilities. And if no vendor is interested in being responsible for them, assuming responsibility for those 15 spaces, then we will relinquish them. We will give you that notice, which will give plenty of time to people to file something. And my hope is that we could have it resolved prior to the end of September, when, if you're correct and it should be unassigned, then it would be resolved and the next payment could be made in October. If we're correct, there would be the opportunity to then back up and say, given that OAH has agreed that these are not vending machines, they are not subject to the provisions regarding unassigned vending machine income, and therefore they're vending facilities, and they are on the call down again. If people do not bid on them, they will be relinquished and try once more time to have a call down. That's my plan for how we go forward. And my hope is that through that, we will put this behind us.
Okay.
Will
thank
there
you.
be a change in policy so that it can be approved for the vendors of the future, so we will know how the call downs will go? And also, I'd like to ask, will there be the vendors who've had these unassigned for the last 2-3 years, are theirs on that list, or they would get to keep those?
So, no, we're talking about
Okay.
unassigned. There are 15 facilities that aren't assigned to anyone. There are some micro markets that vendors have had as a satellite for more than 2 years. And so they would be on the call down as a satellite that the new vendor could bid on. My hope is that the new vendor's actually been out visiting, actual in-person facilities that are satellites, considering what he would like to bid on. So, my hope is that the new vendor and the displaced vendor will identify places where they could work, and put bids there. But yes, if a micro market has been held as a satellite for more than 2 years, then it would be on the call down.
Can I jump in now, Andy? Because this is
Please.
getting a little. You're explaining the SLA's posture and position at the current time with respect to micro markets as well as with respect to adjudication of the call down procedure, how it's going to run and how bids are going to be adjudicated. But you made reference to a 2020 change in the status of facilities, micro markets, unattended micro markets as being separate than vending. I want to point out the SLA actively converted vending machines income locations to micro markets with the recommendation that basically traditional vending was obsolete, was outmoded, that a lot of people, did not patronize traditional vending machines. And this was a much better model for us to have our unassigned stream of income be a much larger pie. And we systematically went about doing that with intention. This is not something that, somehow was decided on by the SLA. I don't know what you're citing. The Department of Education was aware of all of this when it issued the technical assistance circular regarding the removal of SLA authority to enter into any subcontracting agreements over our vending operations. I myself was involved directly, along with members of the BBC in the 2020 timeframe, and we had intense discussions with the Department of Education about the technical assistance circular and what it was seeking to accomplish and what sort of timeline we had to achieve the objectives that the national program had in
Can I stop you there? Because you've said a lot. I want to stop you and just respond to some of that.
Yes, I would like to talk.
Let me I want to just say a couple of things related to that. First of all, the technical assistance circular is clear that it is not imposing any requirements. It is simply providing interpretive guidance for states, but it's not imposing any mandatory steps. I also think that it's important for people to understand two things about the district as it relates to the description of the process in the technical assistance circular. One is, in many states, they were operating vending facilities like they would have the vending at rest stops that the state operated, and they utilized the funds earned there for program support. We have always passed through 100% of vending machine income to the vendors, either in assigned or unassigned vending. A second thing is, if you look at the technical assistance circular and you look at the federal regulations, what they say is, to the extent we don't operate the vending machines, they should be operated by the federal entity consistent with the federal regulations, which requires for unassigned vending for them to pay us between 30 and 50% of the proceeds from those vending
No,
machines.
no, yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah. You know,
currently
I think
receive 100%. So if we
I'm,
follow,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you would cut
Andy,
your,
Andy.
can I finish? I let you finish.
No, no,
I
of
just
course,
want
of
to
course,
finish
of course,
because
please.
when people talk
Because
about
because
this,
you are yeah, because you
Fine.
are
Martha,
giving
let
us
Andy finish, please.
I'm making some points that I think are very important. When you read the
Nicole, would you kindly
regulation,
butt out?
what?
I'm
Sorry?
just to address you.
I'm just saying, when you read the regulation, unassigned vending machine income is only 30 to 50% is supposed to be shared with us. Now,
Yes,
I can't speak to what
sorry.
conversations may have happened about vending machine, about micro markets being considered a better option to vending machines. What I will say, I've talked with staff here a lot, tried to,
Yes.
about the importance of what I call managing up, which is you make sure that your supervisor and their supervisor is aware of what of what's happening so that they don't ever get blindsided, like right now. Because the first time I've ever heard this is now from you. What I'm telling you,
Okay, no,
reading the
sorry.
regulations, this is what the
Mhm.
regulations say, and I'm letting you know how we're going forward.
Okay, but if I may, just a couple of points. Yes, the issue about southern states, Alabama, and a number of other states using vending on highways to support the programs. That was what was going on back in 2011, 2012, 2013, which led Tiffany Harris Davis to come up with this idea that there was that the agency was in fact entitled to use of our unassigned vending funds because it was taking place in other states. It was the wrong example because, as you remember, you lost that fight in court, and we asserted our right, and it's in that decision. No change in the use of unassigned funds can be made without the informed consent of the majority of blind vendors in the program. That's what in the federal regulations. That's what in
That's
our
not what the federal
regulations.
regulation says.
It doesn't.
No. Shall I read it to you? I mean, it's long. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I will
Hi,
read
hi.
to
This
you.
is Nicole. I just would like to say something, and then I'm sorry. I don't know how to raise my hand, so I apologize. And we
That's
don't have
how
a
you
lot of
raise your
time, so
hand, but thank you. You
I
raised your
just
hand
wanted to
just the
ask.
way it's. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say to everybody, a micro market is a modern day convenience store. It is based inside of a location, inside of a room. It is a facility. That is what makes it different from being a vending machine, which is based outside of a building, outside of a room. So it's basically a modern day convenience store. Also, too, going to some of the few conferences I've been to, I do see that a lot of programs actually don't have unassigned like we do. And a lot of the vendors have to take proceeds from their location and create their own retirement. So I think DC actually has a benefit versus most other places. But I just wanted to say that to make sure people understand the difference of a micro market and a vending machine. Also, I would like to say, as previous chair on PNT, the state licensing agency is following the correct procedure when conducting a call down. And I would like for the call down to continue as well. So that's all I want to say on that topic, but I do want to ask a quick question, and I just want to clarify it. I was a little bit confused. I wasn't sure if if March levy was waived or if April levy on the profit and loss statement, which says April levy, which we just received this week, is the one we received this week, is that waived? So that's my question.
Okay, so in answer to your question, it was inartful language in an email. We, because of some fiscal problems in the District of Columbia, recognized that there was a delay in sending out the commission payments, the assigned commission payments that were due, and therefore we would track the amount of the levy and would expect it to be paid, but would defer that until after the commission payments were being paid as due. So we were allowing people to not pay their levy until we were consistently paying the commission payments, which I think are now back on track. And so people should now be responsible for their levy. It was not intended to say no levy payment. It was intended to say, if we can't pay on time, we don't expect you to pay on time.
Okay. I thought.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mazda. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mazda.
In hearing you, Nicole, I was reminded that there's another issue, which is that basically we are now allowed to have a micro market as a primary, an unintended micro market as a primary. Is that the case?
Yes. There's never. Yes.
Okay, so I can surrender my current primary, and that would be okay for you, as far as you're concerned.
Correct.
The SLA.
That's correct.
Okay, fine.
Yes. There was never, and I've heard people say, "Oh, that doesn't make sense." I looked through all the rules. Making sense isn't always, the standard.
No.
Down. But you're correct. There is no provision that says that a micro market cannot be a person's primary.
The entirety of the program crumbles under inspection of this issue, because if you look at the standards by which the agency holds us accountable, licensees in the District of Columbia Randall Shepard program, there are a whole series of responsibilities that we have, and we have to uphold them. Service delivery is one of them, but all of the other expectations that the agency has from blind vendors, those matter. I work hard. I mean, how am I working 7 days a week, and I have I have a whole lot of responsibilities that somebody who's not having to hire staff or to pay payroll taxes or to pay do health inspections, do staff training, do all the other things that are provided for in the the rules and regulations.
I can't even tell you how many micro markets we now have. And to some degree, it's also what some of the buildings are saying they prefer. The other thing is, and we only have 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that anyone else who has questions, because I feel, Mazar, like we're getting kind of astray here from
but I don't want. But the things I think. Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Sandy Reese, I just had one more question. I just wanted to know what is the definition of a displaced vendor?
Oh, wait a second. I'll get that for you. I tried to have all my documents, but
because I do know that when you relinquish a facility, you're not displaced. I do know that if the building management requests the vendor to be removed for not operating an agreement, you're not displaced. But I do know you're displaced if the actual building does have issues.
That's correct. And so a displaced vendor, hold on, I'll get there for you. So a displaced vendor is when a vendor is displaced from their vending facility for any reason other than disciplinary action. So this would be, for example, if we have a building that has decided that they no longer want the facility in their building, and the decision was not a disciplinary action, that the vendor was removed for a disciplinary action, but that the building has made a decision that they are moving to some other option. They no longer are having that facility in the building. Let me give you just an example so that we're not talking. I want to give a hypothetical so that we're not putting an individual vendor stuff out here. Hypothetically, for example, I think it's Ms. Evans who's in the Department of Labor. She's on one floor, and another floor is our cafe. As I said before, if we don't identify a vendor who is able to manage the cafe, we're going to surrender it. But let's say perhaps the Department of Labor said, you know what? We don't need two facilities in this building, so one of them has to go. They only have a requirement to reserve the one space. There's a vendor in the other space. So if there had been a vendor in that space, they would be displaced. And
Okay.
that's the definition of a displaced vendor.
I would like to
Thank
ask
you.
a question.
Well,
Yeah.
I would like to make a statement myself. This is Troy Stevenson when I can.
Okay, someone said I'd like to ask a question, and then Mr. Stevenson, you can make your statement.
I wanted to ask, isn't there somewhere in the rules says that every vendor must be working a working place?
No, there isn't.
Oh, that's nowhere in the rules?
You mean, I assume you're saying that a vendor couldn't have exclusively micro markets. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I'm asking that because none of us know anything about that. None of us knew anything about that. So I'm just asking you.
If
When did
that's
this
what your
change?
question is, there is no provision in the rules that says what type of facility a vendor may have. A vendor does need to have a facility because they're licensed for a reason. And if a vendor, for example, surrendered their facility, wasn't working, we would talk to them about what their plans were and may terminate their license because they were no longer interested in being in the program. But the kind of facility they have is not anything that's specified in the rules.
Well, why wasn't it put in the policy? If this was going to be the thing that we could do, you would have thought that it would have been put in the policy and approved first. I mean, a lot of things, Mr. Reese, I see that it's being done, and I have asked questions many times why those type things should be put the policy. That's what I thought we were going by, a policy, not what we say, or they shall say this is what we're going to do from now on. I mean, we always said that if there was something changed in the program, then it should be put in and approved. Am I correct with this?
And the fact is there hasn't been a change. You're saying, well, this isn't in the policy that someone can do it. It's also not in the policy that they can't do it. We expanded, it's true. I think I don't know the exact number. The number of micro markets we have has expanded exponentially. I know that Jim McManus, who was here before, was sort of known in the country for being someone who strongly supported micro markets. And we now have a lot of them. And it may be that what we together need to be focusing on going forward is how do we make them more than just that sort of, I mean, they are not vending machines, but like, don't treat them like a high-tech vending machine. Start treating them like your own facility, getting to know the people in the building, understanding what their needs are. I'm aware of at least one person, I believe, who like supplements the micro market with like food or supplements the micro market with coffee. So there is a way to treat it like your facility beyond just treating it as a check you get every month. I want to move on because I know that Mr. Stevenson said he had a comment and we are 5 minutes till the end. And I do, unfortunately, I have had back-to-back meetings today and I do have another one coming up. So Mr. Stevenson.
If time permits, Jerome
Okay,
Walker ask the question after Troy Stevenson, please.
Okay.
Okay. You being an attorney, you understand the language in written things. It goes by the language, and the regulation clearly states that the main purpose is remunerative employment for vendors to be, or blind people to be self-sufficient. We have training. We have upward mobility training. We have performance points. In this situation, you're saying that you don't have to be self-sufficient. You're saying that people like myself who perform these duties cannot use their performance points. You're saying people like Mr. Clinton, who was put out of the program, are not allowed to let in, shouldn't have been let in. If you don't have to do anything, he should have been let in the first time when you guys started going through the idea that you don't have to work. And that's not fair to the people who went through the training, like I know the four of us did, who went through the training to learn how to do these things, who are actually doing these things, and you decided to have a call down with seniority points and don't have performance points when I break my neck every day performing all of these duties. And, the different trainings that you go through. I haven't had any upward mobility training yet, but the whole thing is for us to be able to do something ourselves, to be self-sufficient and not somebody else supporting us.
So I just want to say two quick things because I do know that Mr. Walker wanted to ask a question. One is that Mr. Robinson is in the program. I don't know what the history was, but I know I signed something and I thought something went out to folks sort of welcoming him into the program. He is a newly licensed vendor. He's out there trying to identify an appropriate placement. It is
I'm speaking about the
unfortunate,
time
and I
that he
think that
wasn't
it's
allowed to.
partly an issue of sort of COVID with people having adequate performance information about all the various vending facilities, that we were in a place that we didn't, because what the regulations call for is for the SLA, for the program monitors to provide the promotion and transfer committee every 6 months the performance data, and we didn't have enough performance data, and that is on us. Unfortunately, as I said, we have, Mr. Robinson needs a facility. We have the DOL facility that needs to get assigned. So there is some urgency to this. We need to make sure that going forward, and this is on both our staff and the P&T, we need to make sure that going forward, we're providing all of the performance data and that the P&T together looks at that and actually, before they look at individuals' performance data, that they identify how the performance will be calculated, how that will be scored, and then every 6 months, vendors would receive what their performance points are, and they'd have an opportunity at that point to challenge, so that when we have a call down, we don't have the back and forth about the P&T said you're not supposed to, that you should have lost 10 points. And then you have the whole call down being slowed down while you argue about the performance data. We're supposed to do the performance data every 6 months. That's on us. We have not. My hope is that may not even affect. We have to see who bids on what, whether it even has an effect. So I want to jump to
Well,
Mr.
that
Walker
doesn't.
because I'm aware of time. We have 1
Okay.
minute. Mr. Walker, what's your question?
My question is, I'm asking this question for Mr. Clinton Robinson. This question is not specifically from him, but he called me for some understanding on how to bid. So it's always been my understanding what makes a facility a satellite or primary is the bid itself. So as Mr. Clinton is a new vendor coming in, we have, this number might not be correct, but say it's 40 facilities on the call down. And there are a number of them that's called micro markets. There's a number of them called satellites. And it almost sounded, so his understanding should be what? He can bid on any one of those 40 facilities as a primary.
You are correct. And I will say, I know that one of our program monitors was out with Mr. Robinson today. So my hope is that our staff will help walk him through how to do his bidding. The reality is he could bid on the DOL site, which is an available primary site, but so can all of you. And so if he bids on that and one of you bid on that, if he bids as a primary and you bid as a satellite, he wins. That's my understanding. if you both bid as a primary, you would beat him out.
Why
However,
is that?
there are
Yes, why is
all
that?
of those,
Why is
there are
that so?
all
If
of the
he has a
satellite facilities that people have held for more than 2 years, that he is the only one, he and the displaced vendor are the only two who can bid on those. And so there are a lot of facilities that are available for him to bid on, and I'm very hopeful that he will be able to identify one where he can work successfully.
I thought he
Ms.
said
Sandy Reese, why don't GSA have to give us the proceeds to the micro market over there? Why don't GSA have to give Randolph Shepherd the proceeds to the micro market they have
Over where?
on 18th
at the
Street?
GSA building? OPM.
I'm not, oh, at OPM?
Yes, there's a micro market there, and the proceeds are not coming to Randolph Shepherd, and they don't have to give them to us. And I just wanted to ask why.
Oh, okay, at OPM, because there isn't a micro market there, and then I'm going to stop because it's after 5. There is a micro market at
18th Street.
OPM. OPM reached out to us in August 2024 when federal government employees had still not returned to work, and they said that they wanted to establish a micro market in their building. We said that we were turning down that opportunity because the companies that we work with that provide micro markets have established a standard of the census of a building in order for a micro market to be profitable. OPM went forward on its own and said, that's fine. You turned down the location. We still want something like this. So we're going to find someone who will do it, even if it means we pay a little bit more. When we turn something down, the federal agency can then move forward on their own and do it. We get offers all the time. We accept ones where it feels like it would benefit the program, and in instances where it would not be profitable, we don't accept it. There could be circumstances where there's a new building and they say, we'll allow you to have a space here. The cost, I know, and this is from 10 years ago, of the build out for a new building was over $500,000. We couldn't pay for that. So, in that circumstance, we might say, well, given these circumstances, we can't accept it. So OPM can decide on its own once they've offered it to us and we've turned it down that they want to move forward on their own, and that's what they did. I hope that I
Okay,
have
thank you
answered
for
everyone's questions. I want to thank everyone for this conversation. I'm really glad everyone could come to the Zoom call. Kind of wish we could have been in person. I kind of look forward, actually. I would like an opportunity, if we could, to have some in-person meetings so that we can continue talking these issues through. But I think I've been very clear about what our next steps are. I'm very hopeful, at the very least, that we won't have any vendors who don't have facilities, and that we won't have DOL pulling away their facility because we don't have a vendor, because we have some folks here. As Mazur said, you all work really hard. We have some folks here who do great work and I think could provide excellent service at DOL and Mill Cafe. So have a great evening, everyone, and I look forward to talking with you more going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.